Hello everyone, and welcome to my guide for Gorou. Gorou is adored by some for being an adorable doggy boy. Oh, and for being the fierce general of Kokomi's army, I guess. He has a ton of fun interactions and is known by many characters in the game for many reasons, mostly to his dismay with Yae, Miko, and Ito in this game. So today, I'm going to go over all the ways I can think of to build Miss Hina. Gorou is most likely the most niche of all the 4-star characters, and so he is very limited on build options. You could definitely see that in his talents. His normal attack sequence is unremarkable in both animation and damage. The same goes for his charged arrow. It is, however, extremely helpful for that Golden Wolf Sword's invulnerable phase. But that's as far as its use really goes. Hey, so this is me while editing. I know I just said that Gorou's normal attack chain is kind of unremarkable, but he does have this kind of cool little growl and claw marks on the ground on his last attack. So that is at least kind of fun. His elemental skill is his primary ability and where the majority of where his use really is. It does a small bit of geo damage on activation and deploys a field that buffs characters depending on how many geo characters are in the party. At base, it just buffs defense. With 1 extra geo character, it increases resistance to interruption, and with 2 extra geo characters, it increases geo damage of anyone within the field. It gets buffed by his Ascension talents and a lot of his Constellations, so look forward to that. His burst is fairly similar, deploys a version of his field that does the same things and also moves with the on-field character. It also causes an instance of geo damage every 1.5 seconds, and pulls a crystallized shard to the on-field character. This also gets buffed a lot by his Ascensions and Constellations. For example, his first Ascension talent increases the defense of anyone within his burst by 25%. His second Ascension talent increases the damage dealt by his skill and burst based on his defense. His Constellations are extremely straightforward and are primarily there to increase his geo buffing potential, with one possible outlier we'll really talk about. His first Constellation decreases skill cooldown when characters besides him deal geo damage within the field. His C2 makes it so the duration of his burst is extended by a second whenever anyone in the field gets a crystallized shard. His C3 and C5 are the normal 3 levels to his skill and burst respectively. His C4 is what can open him up to be on more teams. Makes it so people within his burst will heal based on his defense as long as there is at least one other geo character in the party. His final Constellation is most likely his best, increasing the crit damage of geo damage done within his field based on the tier of his buff at 10%, 20%, and 40%. The main builds for Gorou largely surround his burst and skill buffs. The first I'll go over is building him for a mono geo team to be a Geo Buffer. For this, the best weapons are going to be the energy recharge bows, since that's all he could really use as far as stats go. The best option is the Favonius bow, as it gives a ton of recharge and allows for him to battery the team better. Next best option is the 5-star LG at the end, for all the buffs it can provide. Between those two, you could choose whichever you prefer or works better for your team. For a more accessible option, there's only really the end of the line bow that you have to fish for. For artifact sets, I would only really say there's 2 real options. One is the 4-piece Noblesse set, and the other is a 2-piece Emblem of Seven Fate and a 2-piece Husk of Opulent Dreams, with some minor damage scaling things to its cons and Ascension talents. You could also opt to run him on 2-piece Husk and 2-piece of the 4-star set, the Defender's Will. But if you're doing this, you will have to try to get the Flower and Feather to be on the Defender's pieces, as they won't be able to level as high as the 5-star sets. For the pieces themselves, there's not really much it scales with, so focusing on recharge and enough crit rate to proc the bonus bow if you're running it. The next build is definitely more niche than the last, but still somewhat viable. It is made to take advantage of his Constellation for his healing. The healing is purely based on his defense, so keep that in mind. For weapons for this, they're basically all the same in the last section, since all you really want on him is recharge, so the Favonius bow is again the best option. The artifact sets are also the same as in the last section, except the loadout I would recommend the most is actually the 2-piece Husk and 2-piece of one of the healing sets, which actually works out pretty well because you could farm both the Ocean Heap Clam and the Husk in the same place. This is mainly if you're not having too much trouble with his burst uptime. The same goes for the pieces. Energy recharge or defense for the sands depending on uptime, defense for the goblet for sure, and either crit rate to ensure easy procs with Favonius bow, or healing bonus if you don't need the crit rate. EM is also not terrible if you can get crystallized to happen enough, but that's pretty niche and I would not recommend going for that. The next two builds I'm going to combine into one section. They're both pretty similar and I would recommend both equally. My recommendation being not playing Gorou like this unless you really like him and want to see him on field more often. Even if you just want to use him on the same team as your favorites, one of them will definitely be better in this position than him. That position being the main DPS. There are two options for him in this case, physical for normal attacks or Geo for charge shots. The weapon of choice depends on which build you're going for. Amos bow is actually good for both and I'd recommend it, or the Thundering Pulse for 5 stars the most. For 4 stars, I'd recommend running the Rust or Compound Bow for physical, but the Hamayumi or Prototype for the charge shot build. The artifacts are pretty straightforward with a 2-piece physical set for the physical build obviously, or 2-piece Arcade Petra for the Geo build, with a 2-piece of any attacker sent to accompany these. For the physical build, you could also run 2-piece of each physical set. For the pieces, you want attack percent Sands, either physical or Geo Goblet of course, and a crit crown for whichever stat you need more, but I recommend going for crit damage on the charge shot build, since you really can just aim for the weak points to get guaranteed crits. As you can see, Gorou is one of the most niche characters and was one of the first of the 4 stars in the trend of being made for a very specific team to build. If you found this guide helpful in any way, please leave a like on the video and subscribe for more. If you have any questions, comments, or recommendations, please leave a comment. I love talking about this game, so I'm likely to reply. I look forward to any feedback, and with that, bye everyone, have a great day.